7 and 8. 7 I'll chant myself, 8 will chant with. Text number 7. Yada sabhayam kurudev devyah keshavimarsham sutakarma garhyam navarayana sanripas snushaya स्वाश्रैर्हरन्त्या कुचकुङ्कुमाणि. Translation: The king did not forbid his son Dushasana's abominable action of grabbing the hair of Draupadi, the wife of the godly king Yudhishthira, even though her tears washed the red dust on her breast. Text 8. द्यूते तु अधर्मेण जितस्य साधो. द्यूते त्वधर्मेण जितस्य साधुः. सत्यावलम्बस्य वनं गतस्य. सत्यावलम्बस्य वनं गतस्य. न याचतो दत् न याचतो दात् समयेन दायम्. न याचतो दात् समयेन दायम्. तमोजुषाणो यदजातशत्रो. तमोजुषाणो यदजातशत्रो. द्यूते त्वधर्मेण जितस्य साधु. सत्यावलम्बस्य वनं गतस्य. न याचतो दात् समयेन दायम्. तमोजुषाणो यदजातशत्रो. युधे त्वधर्मेण जितस्य साधोः. सत्यावलम्बस्य वनं गतस्य. न याचतो दात् समयेन दायम्. तमोजुषाणो यदजातशत्रो. युधे त्वधर्मेण जितस्य Dute by means of gambling to but adharmena by unfair tricks jitasya of the vanquished sadhu a saintly person satya avalambasya one who embraced truth as shelter vanam forest gatasya of the goer na never yachataha when asked for adat delivered samayena in due course dayam right share tamaha jushanaha overwhelmed by illusion yet as much as ajata shatruho of one who had no enemy. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation: Yudhishthira, who was born without any enemy, was unfairly defeated in gambling. But because he had taken the vow of truthfulness, he went off to the forest. When he came back in due course and begged the return of his rightful share of the kingdom, he was refused by Dhritarashtra, who was overwhelmed by illusion. Kindly repeat. Yudhishthira, who was born without any enemy, was unfairly defeated in gambling. But because he had taken the vow of truthfulness, he went off to the forest. When he came back in due course and begged the return of his rightful share of the kingdom, he was refused by Dhritarashtra, who was overwhelmed by illusion. Purport. Maharaj Yudhishthira was the rightful heir to his father's kingdom. But just to favor his own sons, headed by Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, Maharaj Yudhishthira's uncle, adopted various unfair means to cheat his nephews of their rightful share of the king. At last, the Pandavas demanded only 5 villages, one for each of the 5 brothers, but that was also refused by the usurpers. This incident led to the war of Kurukshetra. The battle of Kurukshetra, therefore, was induced by the Kurus and not the Pandavas. As Kshatriyas, the proper livelihood of the Pandavas was only to rule and not to accept any other occupation. A Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya will not accept employment for his livelihood under any circumstances. Thus, in the Bhakti Vedanta Parva. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्नि नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे. So the unfair dealings of Dhritarashtra is described again with the continuity of yesterday's similar discussion. So yesterday we saw that Dhritarashtra, because he was not only blind materially, physically, he was also blind spiritually. He took to various conspiracies to unfair means to cheat Pandavas so that they don't get the kingdom. And one of the means was to kill them, to eliminate them. And then he tried to make a house of made up of palace made up of wax lacquer and put them in and burn them. But by the support of Vidura, confidential support of Vidura, Pandavas were escaped. Again, uh, Dhritarashtra arranged for a gambling match wherein Yudhishthira was in an unfair way he was defeated. And even though it was unfair, Yudhishthira was truthful to his words. He accepted the consequence and he went away to forest in exile. And later when he came back, still Dhritarashtra did not hand over the kingdom. So like this, Dhritarashtra was with all ill means and wicked ideas, he was denying Maharaj Yudhishthira's fair portion of the kingdom, not portion, entire kingdom. And Vidura was observing all this, and every now and then, as a good brother and a good minister, Vidura was always counseling Dhritarashtra. But because Dhritarashtra was, as Prabhupada says, he was blind spiritually and he was influenced, illusioned by his son, Duryodhana, wanting to benefit his son out of partiality. Uh, he did not heed to any instructions of Vidura. So yesterday we saw how Pandavas were protected by Vidura's interference. So after that incident, Pandavas escaped from underneath the tunnel of the burning palace, and through the agency of Vidura's spy, they walked along the Ganges and took rest in a forest. And in the forest, in the late night, another demon, Hidimba, he comes and attacks. And then Bhima, through his great power, he kills the demon. And Hidimba's sister, Hidimbi, she becomes attracted to Bhima's extreme power and she wishes to marry him. So thus both of them get married, and when a son is when he blesses her with the son, all the Pandavas leave from there, and again they reach another place where Bhima had to kill another demon, Ekachakra Ram, where he kills Bakasura. Further in the chronology, Draupadi's Swayamvar happens. Then Arjuna wins as a Brahmanas in a Brahmanas dress. He attends Swayamvara. There, Duryodhana, Karna, and all great archers are there. And amidst them, Arjuna is able to win Draupadi's hand in that Swayamvara. And while the ceremony of marriage happens in Panchala Desh, where where Draupadi's father is the king, the news reaches Hastinapur that Pandavas are still alive. So, as soon as Bhishma comes to know about this, he sends Vidura to get Pandavas back to the kingdom. Though externally Dhritarashtra is unhappy, internally though Dhritarashtra is unhappy, externally he is showing all his happiness. But Duryodhana is completely shocked. He could not believe. Especially, he was shocked and he was afraid now because few months back he was coronated as a prince. Before becoming king, they coronated as a prince. So he was declared to be the prince. When Pandavas were killed, then definitely they are not the rightful heirs, successors. So, just like Pandu, when he died, Dhritarashtra became an accidental king. Similarly, Duryodhana was now coronated as prince. Now that Pandavas are alive, his position as a prince is again lost. So Duryodhana was completely upset. He could not believe how could Pandavas come alive. So while the marriage has happened between Draupadi and five Pandavas, and Vidura also arrives there and gives the news that Bhishma is inviting, Dhritarashtra is inviting, and they all come back to Hastinapur. When Pandavas come to Hastinapur, not only Bhishma, Vidura, and all the assembly ministers are happy, the entire kingdom is happy by the return of Pandavas. They are welcomed like anything. Even seeing this, Duryodhana becomes very envious that what a reception Pandavas have got. So while Duryodhana is thinking his consequence when Pandavas will arrive, Duryodhana goes to his father and he says he cannot accept this, that he cannot be the next king or next prince. And at any cost, he will not come down. Seeing the envious nature of his son, Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra approaches Bhishma, who is his elder. And Bhishma, he says, on one end, Maharaj Yudhishthira is the rightful successor. He has to become the king. He has to become the emperor. However, while this incident has happened, Duryodhana is also named as prince. Sorry. He is Yuvraj now. So, I do not want to upset Duryodhana. I am impartial to both. I like both the grandsons. Hence, my suggestion is I want to divide the kingdom into two halves. One will be taken care by Yudhishthira, Pandavas. One will be by Duryodhana and his party. So Dhritarashtra now, he is little happy. Okay, at least this much is done. My son can be king of a particular uh, kingdom. And Yudhishthira also gets his king. And then Bhishma says, the division you take care. I will not involve in the division. Division you take care. This is my suggestion. So Dhritarashtra takes up, it appears a win-win situation. But even in this division, He conspires and ensures that Maharaj Yudhishthira he gets only a kingdom which is a barren land. Shri Radha Madan Mohan ji, Shri Nitaya. So when Yudhishthira arrives into the kingdom with all the great pomp and all grandeur, welcome by the citizens of the kingdom, by the residents of the palace, and all the elders. Next day, he arranges a meeting, and amidst all of them, Dhritarashtra declares that he has divided the kingdom into two halves. One half, which is known as Kandava Prastha, will be taken by by Yudhishthira, and Hastinapura will remain with Duryodhana. And then, in trying to convince Yudhishthira why he should take Khandavaprastha, he says Khandavaprastha was our previous ancestors' capital. It was the epitome of and center of all the activities previously, long back. Pururava, Yayati, only millions of ages and different yuga. It was a headquarters. It was a capital. But today, because the area was not viable further because of various reasons, the kingdom was shifted. The capital was shifted. And that land remained barren. Dhritarashtra, very diplomatic way he presents to Maharaj Yudhishthira, saying that, oh, see, that was earlier capital, please take care. Yudhishthira knows that it is a barren land, but because it is coming from superiors, he accepts it with honor. And along with his five brothers, he goes to Pandavaprastha. And there they start developing their new kingdom. Within few years, Pandavaprastha becomes Indraprastha. Indraprastha, the name itself suggests rivaling the kingdom of Indradev, who is the king of Sarga. So that barren land, by their intellectual, by their uh, political strategies, and by Krishna's mercy, they transformed in the Khandavaprastha into Indraprastha, a resilient and vibrant cities, villages, kingdom, and all the people surrounding, they all come and become make their habitation in Indraprastha. Those who are in Hastinapur also come and start residing here. Good economy, good business, ease of business, and all of that they make. And Indraprastha is flourishing like anything. And then he has sent his four brothers, conquering the nearby kingdoms. And Duryodhana is observing all this, that they are flourishing like anything. In one occasion, because of Krishna's mercy, one demon by name Maya Dano, he, because uh, he was protected by Arjuna, he wanted to gift Arjuna something. So Krishna recommends that you make a palace for uh, Pandavas, and that's how Maya Dano, with all his skill, he was the architect for various palaces in various planets. And now that Mahadano, he creates a wonderful palace in the Pustaka for Pandavas. And after that, Maharaj Yudhishthira was suggested to perform Rajasuya Yagna because he was becoming so powerful. So all the sages suggest him that you perform Rajasuya Yagna. Rajasuya Yagna happens much more grander way. Duryodhana is called as given an invitation, and he sees Maya Dana was created Indraprastha palace. and the kingdom is spellbound. And more than spellbound, he becomes more envious. The growth of Dhritarashtra is unable to bear. So, wanting to know what is this palace, who is this palace constructed, he stays for a few more days. And while this is happening, he sees that there is one hall with marble. He assumes that it is a marble, but actually it is water. So, without knowing, he enters into the hall and falls into the water ditch. Actually, it is not a marble, it is. So, all the people who are surrounding, their Pandavas are there, Krishna is there, Balram is there, including Draupadi, they all start laughing. Of course, uh, Pandavas and Yudhishthira, they maintain, they do not laugh loud, but Draupadi, she starts laughing loud. So Duryodhana becomes very insulted. However, Yudhishthira consoles. He understands that Duryodhana has become little insulted, become more envy, and this will turn into, and if he becomes angry, then we will be in danger. So he consoles Duryodhana. And further, he bids a farewell to all the guests. So Duryodhana goes back along with Shakuni. While Vasudeva also came for this ceremony, and while Vasudeva is returning back, he was the last one waiting to give a final instructions to Yudhishthira. And he says, see, till now everything has gone well, but bad time is going to start. Be more careful. So Yudhishthira is just like Vidura gave the code, no? Like that Vyasadeva also gave code. And he says, whenever you wish, you can call me, I will come for your service. So then Yudhishthira becomes little terrified. "Oh, what is this? Vyasadeva is saying some tough time is going to come. So he takes a promise that in order to protect our 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 kingdom, I take a promise that I will never deviate from my superiors. Generally, if you follow your superiors, you're always protected. That's a formula. So he takes that vow. And here, Duryodhana and Shakuni, while they are going back to Hastinapur, Shakuni says that Duryodhana is not in this world. He is lost in some other world. Seeing his depressed face, he asks, what happened? So Duryodhana starts narrating all the incidents that has happened, the insult that has happened, and the jealousy that he has filled up in his heart, seeing the growth of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Then Shakuni says, you see, we have to be very intelligent. There are only 5 people, we are 100 people. This itself gives Duryodhana a little boost, some positive confidence. And then he says, but you can never defeat them in a war because Pandavas are very skillful in war. They are very expert. If you want to defeat them, you can only defeat them by cheating. And that can happen in gambling. And Shakuni was expert in gambling. No one can defeat Shakuni. He is a master in it. So he says, you go and convince your father that we'll have a friendly game. It is not a very serious game, a friendly game. We will have some stakes. We put some stakes, and then whoever loses the stakes in a friendly way. We'll play. We want to have a friendly, brotherly relation, a friendly relation with the kingdom. Please invite them for this purpose. So then they go to Dhritarashtra immediately. They, they ask him permission to make a big hall where a game can be arranged between Pandavas and Kauravas. A friendly game of gambling will be arranged. Initially, Dhritarashtra is little happy, thinking, oh, friendly game. But then when he hears gambling, he is little taken aback because gambling is always dangerous, whether it is friendly or whether it is a real game. So he says, I will consult Vidura. So Duryodhana becomes upset. What again? Vidura means he will not agree. So he asked Vidura whether it is a good suggestion to have a friendly game with Pandavas, friendly gambling game. Vidura vehemently disagrees. He says this is a dangerous path. We should never ever gamble. But as Duryodhana's pursuance increases, Dhritarashtra has to finally agree. He convinces, not convince, he goes against Vidura. Bhishma and Kripacharya and Dronacharya, they are silent. They, you will not listen to me. They are silent. So Maharaj Yudhishthira comes to know Vidura is sent to give the news that they have to play this game. There also Vidura says, don't accept. But Maharaj Yudhishthira, he has taken a vow. Whatever my superior says, I will follow. So he follows. If Dhritarashtra is invited, my uncle has invited, and definitely. So he accepts. A big hall is made. A big assembly of people have come, and the game is about to start. The rules have been laid out. So there, Yudhishthira, he is actually Shakuni. He says that there are few things, weaknesses in Yudhishthira. One weakness is Yudhishthira is very fond of games. He wants to play games. Very fond, especially gambling. Very fond. But he is very weak in that game. So if we invite him, he'll definitely come because he likes. And because we are stronger, he'll definitely lose. And if you challenge him in a Kshatriya spirit, he has to agree. The Kshatriya, if he's challenged, whatever risk it is, he will always comply. He will not run away from any challenge. That is a Kshatriya dharma. If anyone challenged and Kshatriya says, no, 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 my sir, even if he says, I am not healthy, I am weak, I'll come tomorrow, then it is a big insult for him. It is equivalent to death for him. So, seeing this weakness, Shakuni strategizes like this. Therefore, he calls for Yudhishthira, and Yudhishthira comes and he sits. And before the game is beginning, he understands the rule and is shocked. The rule is that each one has to put their stakes. So Duryodhana will put some stake, he'll tell 100 gold coins. Yudhishthira has to put 100 gold coins. In the Pandava's case, Yudhishthira is the one who has to put the dice, roll the dice. But whereas in Kauravas, Duryodhana's case, Shakuni will roll the dice. So when Yudhishthira hears this, he becomes shocked. How is it fair? I am nowhere in comparison to Shakuni in playing this gambling. I am nowhere in comparison. A game or any challenge has to be accepted among the equals. But this is not a game of equality. Let's say if unfair means they won. What is that unfair? Yudhishthira is a very novice in gambling, and Shakuni is a master. And Shakuni is not the one who is putting stakes. Duryodhana is putting the stakes. See, if Shakuni puts his kingdom or his money, his wealth, then it is understood. Okay, Shakuni can roll the dice. What is there with Shakuni? He don't have any kingdom. He don't have any wealth. So that means game is over in the first instance. But who is backing his stakes? That is Duryodhana. So this is actually cheating. It's not a game. So initially Yudhishthira is little shocked. He looks at the seniors. He looks at Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra is silent. Bhishma is silent. And then Shakuni is saying, you don't want to fight. We are okay. So, how it is? Kshatriya, I will fight. So taking the Kshatriya spirit, eh, Yudhishthira agrees. Then he puts on one, he says, initially I'll begin with 1 jar of gold coins. And Duryodhana says, what 1 jar? I'll give 100 jars equivalent. And the dice are rolled, Shakuni wins. Then next to Yudhishthira, he puts all his elephants into the stake. Duryodhana, because he is very confident, he puts double. Okay, take double, I will put. Then Yudhishthira rolls the dice. Yudhishthira loses. So like that continuously, Yudhishthira, no. Anyway, you are lost and you will continue to lose. I am sure. When Yudhishthira takes it as a challenge, then again he plays. So like that, one by one, when everything is lost, he starts taking his own brothers, first Nakula, then Sahadeva, then Arjuna, then Bhima, and all the brothers are over. Himself also he takes. And when he also is lost, when he thought everything is over, that time Duryodhana brings, why not Draupadi? Bhima is irate like anything. But then, because Yudhishthira is challenged, out of his challenge, Kshatriya spirit, okay, Draupadi also put on stage. And then Draupadi is also lost. So then lot of discussion happens whether Draupadi has to be brought, what has to be done. But Duryodhana is not at all ready. Vidura is once in a while continuously he's saying, no, we are doing this is a completely wrong that is happening. We are irritating. We are igniting the fire in Bhishma, Bhima, and Arjuna. And if they take anything seriously, then entire dynasty is finished. But then Duryodhana is not at all in a mood to hear. Yudhishthira is silent. Bhishma is silent. So then, few attempts are made by servants to bring Draupadi, but Draupadi does not come. Finally, Dushasana goes, holds her hair in his hands, and drags her into the court. And then she is insulted there in front of all the people. She questions on religion to all the big people, superiors, and they have no answer. And finally, when she is about to be disrobed, she prays to the Lord for help, and Lord supplies unlimited uh, length of sari to protect her pride. Even after seeing this, Duryodhana is not shocked. Duryodhana is not at all considering, Arey, Krishna is behind them, some super power is there behind. Then he challenges, okay, something has to be done. Why not? That he says, he shows his naked thighs. Her position is on my thighs like that. So that time, Bhima promises, takes a commitment that I will break your thighs. Actually, thigh breaking means he'll kill. If any thigh is fractured, means he'll die. That's a very sensitive portion. And showing off a thigh in those ages is a very, like a, almost naked, very insulting. Nowadays, it's all common. Earlier, it was very so like that. And then Karna, he also commits something, and then they promise that Karna also I will finish. Dushasana also does. So like that, Bhima and Arjuna are taking vows to revenge all this. Vidura becomes very afraid and he wants Dhritarashtra. Still he is silent. So while all this is happening, Draupadi is insulted like this. Finally, Dhritarashtra, he says, enough is enough. My dear Draupadi, we have done a great grave mistake. Please forgive us. In exchange, you can ask any one boon. So then Draupadi asks for relief of Yudhishthira. So he says, okay, I relieve him that his loss, his himself being at stake, I relieve that no, he's no more our slave. Then he asks, okay, one more boon you ask. And then she says, I want all other Pandavas, all other four brothers also to be relieved. And then this Dhritarashtra says, okay, that also I accept. And then finally, He asked, one more boon you can ask. And Draupadi says, third boon I don't want to ask. I am not so greedy woman. I am happy with the two boons. And then actually they give back everything to Pandavas. Pandavas wind up and in their great, they're unable to imagine that the position they are in, and they're going back to Indraprastha to their kingdom because of Draupadi's uh, wishes. They have got all their kingdom and everything back. While they're going back in the midst, in the meanwhile, Dushasana goes to Duryodhana and he says, if Yudhishthira remains not only alive, if he remains in this world, you will not become the emperor. You forget about it. So Duryodhana goes to Dhritarashtra again and he says, one final game we will have. And this game is to decide who will be the emperor and who will go for forest. Whoever loses is to go to forest for 13 years, 12 years. 1 year they can stay incognito. And if they are found out again, then another 13 years they have to. So then again Dhritarashtra they convince one final. Dhritarashtra agrees. Then again a message is sent while they are going back. Messenger goes and tells them. Then Yudhishthira, he says, who can deny the will of providence if we have to suffer, whether I agree or don't agree? I have to suffer my karma. And he agrees to make uh, final game of dice, gambling again. Even though his brothers are not willing. Then in that game also, Shakuni wins. And then finally, Yudhishthira and Pandavas have to take up to forest for next 12 years and 1 year in court. So like this, an unfair way, Pandavas were made to play a game, and in an unfair way, they were defeated. And thus, and still, as in this verse, it is mentioned, Satyavalamba. He, because Maharaj Yudhishthira embraced truth. He has promised that he will agree to this condition. So he agreed and he went to forest. Even though Dhritarashtra still is not satisfied, when they come back, he is not ready to give back the kingdom to Yudhishthira. Hmm? So there is a saying that the path of a, a truthful person is always filled with thorns. Path of a religious person, righteous person is always filled with. But in spite of him knowing that the path of truth and religiousness or righteousness is filled with thorns, he accepts that path only. He doesn't accept. Whereas unintelligent people, in order to gratify their senses, self-aggrandizement, they take up to path of irreligion, which is a appearing to be smooth path. But those who are righteous always take to the path of a religion, even though the path is filled with thorns. Of course, it will take through thorns, but it will end up in roses. Uh, Krishna says, what is in the beginning pleasurable ends up in pain. And what is painful in the beginning ends up in pleasure. So the path of dharma, the path of religion, Krishna consciousness is painful in the beginning, full of austerity, co-regulative principles, this, that, and all. But it leads to liberation. The path of irreligion, sense gratification, very happy now, but it leads to hellish condition of life in the near future. So hence a righteous man, an intelligent man, he understands, even though it is tough, let me take to the path of righteousness. And no one can avoid the will of providence. If something has to come according to time, gunakala karma, no one can overcome that. An intelligent, he accepts. This is the fact of life. So, in order to safeguard him pleasure, a religious man, he doesn't take to any shortcut because he knows anyway this will come to me. If not today, it will come tomorrow. Why not face today as per the will of the Lord? That's why devotee not interested in astrology, trying to find when I'll have problems, what I should do to solve. What is it? There is a you cannot do anything. It is just like suppose in a cupboard there is a file. One file is happiness file, one file is distress file, one file is happiness file. So suppose in the sequence next is a distress file. So by doing some astrology, some techniques and all, whatever that dosha karma, nivarana, you will take distress file from first lane to the last lane. That's all. But the file is still there and it is in sequence. It is not that the file itself is lost. It is still there. So devotee is not interested in all that astrology. It is that doing that dosha karma, this yaga, that yaga, chandi yaga, you do this dosha nivarana. These are all in Kali Yuga, they made a technique for market and business. That's all. Otherwise, it is not possible to overcome because it is a gunakala karma. It is decided vidhi. Previous ages, okay, if it is in my destiny, what can I do? That was their understanding. But today, I don't want to accept destiny. We want to become masters of our destiny. And we want to, that's a struggle for existence. That's why in this case, these astrologers and these dosha nivarana people, cheaters, false hopes they create. We should not get into those dealings. You should not tell, chant Hare Krishna, all your dosha will go Hare. What is the dosha? Chant Hare Krishna, get liberated from this material world. Our Hare Krishna mantra, we should not be cheaply marketed. What is Hare Krishna mantra is giving Krishna Prema. And we should preach. Get Krishna Prema, all your doshas, above your doshas, everything solved permanently. Your file itself arranged. We are giving that solution. And you want to shift file, this file to that file. No. One day you have to face. So it is not possible to change our destiny. What is been within it is written by destiny. Cannot. It can only change by the will of the Lord. And if the Lord changes, I accept. Not that I take to Krishna conscious, destiny is not changed. Then what is the use of better I worship demigod? Or better I do dosha nivarana? No. Whether Lord changes or doesn't change, I am eternal servant of Krishna. That is my eternal position. Huh? So Maharaj Yudhishthira knows this. He is a follower of Dharma. So he accepts, okay, this is the destiny. Whether I play my gambling game or not, I have to suffer. I have to go to forest. If not through gambling game, some other way I have to go. So a person who is righteous, he doesn't look for a rosy path. He knows religious path is thorny. It is little risky. It is austere, filled with filled with inconveniences, and he accepts it with happiness. The only thing that is possible, intelligently is possible, is he can make that thorns for growth in Krishna consciousness. The same thorns can be made to again bind in material world. There are so many people taking to austerity in life, but that is again binding them. But the same austerity, same thorns, a devotee can transform into path, into elevation to Krishna consciousness. For example, devotees will take voluntarily fasting on certain days. He takes to devotional services, sometimes risky service, that is austerity. Outside people also take risk in their business, in their job. But what is it doing? All that risk. By that they're entangling themselves more and more. But what is a devotee doing by all this? risks and austerity is coming out of the time. That's why a devotee is intelligent. He uses austerity for that austerity which is bound, which is part of his karma. He uses that to come out of karma. And karma is that austerity which is part of their karma, he uses to again create one more karma. That's why a devotee is very intelligent, very smart. He takes to voluntary austerity. It is his karma, that's all what he can. He has to suffer. But by voluntarily taking it for Krishna's pleasure, outside people are taking voluntarily for self pleasure. That is karma. By voluntarily taking for Krishna's pleasure, the same karma is burned, but he gets elevated to Krishna consciousness. So, any opportunity for austerity in Krishna consciousness, we should not run away, we should not give up, because that is the way, the path of a religious, righteous person filled with thoughts. He should accept them and make those thoughts to elevate to Krishna consciousness. Any questions? He had choice. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why we have to understand the sensitivity of that civilization. We cannot apply today's sensitivity in that civilization. Today's sensitivity is, yeah, it is my choice. But that time it is not my choice. Superiors are saying it is a Kshatriya spirit, challenging the Kshatriya spirit. These are all the considerations are there. Okay. Now, right, suppose you take today's situation. Suppose such a person is there. Again, he'll not go first. Even if he goes, other few brothers will say, goodbye, I'm going. You want to play you. Wife will first divorce. So all these things. Today's sensitivity is different. That age's sensitivity is different. We cannot compare both and say, oh, you should, why you just agreed. That was a compelling situation of that civilization. They had to accept. Huh? Which principle? No, principle is to follow dharma. Details may vary. See, in this register, I had followed dharma. Detail is different. Detail is he followed dharma of Kshatriya spirit and dharma of superior orders. He followed. Understood. Similarly, we are going to follow the dharma. We will inquire from our superior what I have to do. We will inquire from Guru and Krishna what we have to do. Then follow the dharma. That's all. The principle is same. Dharma has to be followed. Then we'll always be protected. Understood now? In one circumstance, Bhima, he becomes so angry, he says, uh, I'll kill my brother. I'll separate his arms from his body like that, he says. Then Arjuna says, no, no, it's offensive talk. And then Bhima says, no, no, I did offense. Even though all this is happening, that etiquette, oh, my brother is taken decision, I have to agree, that's all. Bhima immediately rectifies, no, no, I am very sorry. I did this. It is unimaginable for them to go against superiors that age. Now it is a fashion. Now it is a fashion, right? And all. So even though Yudhishthira did so much, Pandavas were never envious of Yudhishthira, nor they were vengeful against Yudhishthira. They always remained, okay, some circumstance he has taken wrong decision. What is that? We'll follow it. They just follow. In today's, oh, my brother take wrong, what is there? I'll split from him, I'll do my own. That is Kali Yuga. So sensitivities are little different. So according to the sensitivity, we have to apply dharma. But dharma has to be followed. In today's, maybe brothers can split. One brother can tell, okay, you are not following Dharma, I am going on. Vidura did not go. Vidura stuck with his brother till his life. Even though, until unless opportunity came, he did not leave, even though he was in circumstance of. So the sensitivity was, and that civilization was totally different. The family bonding, family superiority, whom they have to follow, all this is very clear. You understood, no? Suppose 100, five Pandavas are there. Generally, previous civilization, the process is one of them will be the emperor, all others will be the emperor's subjects. The one will become Senadipati, one will become treasurer, like that. Today, if suppose same five are there, each one will split equally or divide five property. I will not accept to be another brother. That is, of course, some 20, 30 years back, there used to be a family business. Elder brother will be the chairman, younger brother will be one treasurer. That was also there. But today in Kali Yuga is not possible. Divide and rule. Today's policies. So sensitivities are different. So to exactly understand why Yudhishthira did like that and convince ourselves not possible. Because that civilization is totally different sensitivity. Today's is in the context of today's, we cannot understand. We will not be able to satisfy ourselves. But as a dharma, what is the dharma? Superior should to be followed. Kshatriya spirit is there. When he's challenged, he has to accept. Today, when you are challenged, you have a choice. I don't know what is there. I have my choice. There, freedom is there. Huh? So we may not be able to apply the same detail today, but dharma has to be followed. Dharma has to be followed. Okay, we'll close. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.